What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a 2023 year in review video. I just got back from Collector Archive Services 2 graded baggies, and I thought I would parlay that into kind of a review of all of the loose graded vintage Star Wars figures I picked up. So I don't know if you guys like this, but you seemed to like it when I did it last year, so I'm going to try and do one of these for my loose graded pickups this video, a mint on card vintage Kenner video, and then my comic books. And it was actually a very good year for collecting for me, and I wasn't expecting it going into the year, but just the way things worked out, I was able to pick up a lot of really nice figures. And we're going to start off with some of the foreign variants that I picked up. And the first one is one I showed on the channel maybe a month or two ago. This is one I picked up from Collectibles Investment Brokerage in an auction on eBay. And this is the Spanish Pac, early Spanish figure for the Sand People, dark brown bandolier. And they always label this, the Spanish figures as Kenner/PBP, but it's got the Hong Kong COO. So it is the early Spanish figure for the Sand People, graded AFA 80. So that was a nice pickup. Probably overpaid for it relative to what the UKG 80s go for. But the early Spanish figures, the Spanish Pacs, do not come up regularly graded by AFA. I also picked up a couple of IG88s for the Spanish line. And the first one is a Spanish Pac Blood Red Eyes IG88 graded 80%. And this is another one that's fairly hard to track down. He's kind of known to have the very, very red eyes, as you can see here. Very, very kind of red with the paint application. So this is another early Spanish figure. And a little while later, I managed to pick up the Spanish PBP. So here is how this one is labeled. This is the Smooth No COO IG88 Spanish PBP, the later variant. And as we talk about all the time on the channel, the early Spanish Pacs imported Hong Kong parts, assembled and painted them in Spain, whereas the PBPs, they actually used the molds to create their own figures and then paint them. And in general, the Spanish Pac figures are tougher to get in high grade just because they were a little bit more rudimentary in terms of the sonic welding process and the paint applications, things like that. But you can see the obvious paint differences here. So you got the very kind of reddish eyes for the Spanish Pac, whereas the Spanish PBP is more like a pale red, almost like an orange color. So nice to have both the Spanish PBP as well as the Spanish Pac for IG88, the Droid Bounty Hunter. What else did I pick up this year? I got a Spanish Pac Han Solo First 12. He's kind of known to have very pale hands, as you can see, and pale chest relative to the paint apps on the actual face. So I had this one in a CAS 70 or 70 plus, maybe 75, I can't remember. Sold that one off to help offset the cost for this one. This one obviously was a lot more expensive, but this is the early Spanish Pac Han Solo graded UKG 80%. And I do have also the PBP graded 85 by UKG. But harder to find that early Spanish figure. Very, very pale hands. It's so striking how pale the hands and chest are on that Han Solo. Likewise, I also picked up a Chocolate Legs Spanish Pac Han Solo Hoth gear. And this is a pretty famous variant for you variant collectors. Very, very dark brown, chocolatey, milk brown with the legs. And that's how it's labeled by UKG. Pac Chocolate Legs Han Solo. And this one also was graded 80%. It's just tough to find any of these Spanish Pacs in an 85. It's just very, very tough to do. Just because, as I said, the factory just was known for having poor paint applications and overspray and things like that. One non-foreign variant that I thought I'd pull out while I have the Chocolate Legs is this one that I picked up from the Hakes auction, the last Hakes auction. This is a No COO dark tan pants, graded AFA 85. So I picked that one up in a Hakes auction, but you can see even the dark tan pants for the No COO is still very light relative to the very dark milk brown, dark chocolatey brown Spanish POC figure. So pretty noticeable difference there in the color for those. But that was another one I did pick up earlier this year. And I also picked up a couple of pretty rare Darth Vader variants. I've got a number of Vader variants, as you guys always know, in the background, but this one was a beauty that I picked up on eBay, and this is the Spanish POC Darth Vader. So I've got 2 Spanish PVPs, 1 textured cape, 1 smooth cape, and then I finally was able to pick up the Spanish POC rated 85%. Probably another overpay relative to what oftentimes the 80s sell for, but when I saw an 85 grade and how rarely you can get one of these in an 85 grade, I decided to go ahead and grab that. So that was one of the Vaders. The other big Vader was courtesy of Rogue 5 Toys on Facebook. Chris W. over there sold me this pretty rare variant for Vader, and this is the Taiwan only COO with the archival case graded AFA 80. And we talk about these, we talked about it at length in a video. It's kind of known to have this kind of weird club foot. And this was only available on Toll Toys card backs down in New Zealand and Australia. It's a very well-known variant among variant collectors, the Taiwan only. Not to be confused with the Made in Taiwan, which is much more common and appeared on U.S. Kenner card backs, later, Return of the Jedi card backs, things like that. But the Taiwan only COO is a very difficult variant to track down, and he has that club foot. And he also has a very pointy kind of mask. You can see how pointy that mask is for that breathing apparatus around his face. It's kind of a ballpoint pen finish to it. And there's some other kind of noticeable kind of telltale things for the Vader. The head sets up a little bit higher so the neck looks longer, things like that. And it also has a very unique kind of dull cape versus the standard Made in Taiwan or the Hong Kongs that we're used to. But 2 awesome Darth Vader variants that I picked up. Let me go see what else I can find from my list of items that I kind of keep track of all the different pickups for the year for this year-in review video. So now that it's time, I need to go check it, and I'll pull out some more figures that I was able to grab this year. I did also add to my die-cast vehicle run this year, and one of them I've shown you, and one of them I have not. This is the die-cast Millennium Falcon that I picked up as part of that jackpot haul that Chris W. had over on Rogue 5 Toys. He listed this for sale, and I snapped it up immediately, and that is a CAS 80 grade die-cast Falcon. So really awesome case. I really enjoy having these loose graded die casts. They're extremely well put together. And this one did get the 80 grade. I covered this in a video a while back. There's the grade there. So that was a great one. This is one that I don't think I've shown on the channel yet, and that is the die-cast Y-Wing. And an interesting story on this one. They take forever to assemble these at CAS to put these cases together and to grade them. And so I sent this off in July of 2022. And it just now got back to me maybe a month ago. So they take about 15 months all in if you submit a loose die-cast vehicle. So don't expect to get them back soon. I've got 3 more at CAS right now. I've got 2 die-cast Cloud Cars as well as a die-cast Imperial Cruiser. So I'll have those on the channel probably sometime mid-next year. But this is one that I picked up from Chris W. at Rogue 5. But the crazy thing is that Chris gave it to me as a gift. It was ungraded, and he said, hey, I've got this extra die-cast Y-Wing. I know you need one. It may not grade all that high, but it's free. And I said, I'll take it. That's awesome. And Chris was also kind enough to mail it direct to Collector Archive Services for me. I paid for the grading costs, sent him the paperwork, and then he put the paperwork inside the box and sent it to CAS for me. So it got back 15 months later, and it did grade a 75 plus, which is what we expected. The big thing with the die-cast Y-Wing is that there is a bomb with it, and they displayed the bomb separately here. But the negative is that the bomb is plastic, and these red guns are also plastic. And just over time, the red from that plastic causes some staining on the Y-Wing itself. So you can see on the die-cast fuselage, on the canopy there, the red is kind of worn off for whatever reason onto the canopy. And then on the bottom, the same thing happens. You can see the bomb from being placed inside the slot for the bomb causes some paint wear to the diecast. So we knew that it would not get an 80 most likely because of that, but otherwise it's extremely clean. And look how awesome this case is from CAS. I mean, they just knock it out of the park with these diecasts. I would send so many more in just to grade them, even though I've got probably, let's see, I've got 5 of them now. I've got 3 more. No, I've got 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I've got 5 now, and then I've got 3 more at grading, but I would send even more of them if they just didn't take so long. But I understand it's a pretty complex case, and you know, it's not like a big money maker for them, so it's just really tough to you know, for them to get the bandwidth to assemble those. So thank you to Chris for that gift. That was an awesome gift, and it did grade 75 plus. And then the diecast Millennium Falcon I picked up from Chris. So here are some of the other more common variants. Some of them common, some of them not. But these are the other pickups from earlier this year before we finish off with the latest pickups from CAS, along with some other baggies that I picked up. But this is one I also picked up from Rogue 5 Toys. This is the harder to find no COO Luke Skywalker in his Hoth battle gear. Very tough to find this one because it only appeared on Palitoys and Tri-Logo card backs. So the Hong Kong you can find all over the place, but the no COO is a really tricky one to find. And there was an AFA 80 Plus that sold from CIB maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that was the no COO, and it was an 80 plus, and it sold for almost the exact same price I paid for this UKG 85. And we talk about that all the time, is that, you know, UKG and CAS are probably about a half a point different. So I would call this, you know, an 80 plus with AFA, although to me, this is a pretty clean looking figure, and it has a good chance, I think, to get an 85 with AFA if I was going to, you know, cross grade it, but I don't really care. It's just an awesome looking figure. Usually you get a lot of wear on the scarf and then on the binoculars there, but this one was super clean. Not much, if any, discoloration to the legs and arms. I don't see anything, which is a common thing, is that the legs start to discolor. But here's the other Luke Hoth that I picked up, and this one again was part of the few items that I grabbed from the last Hakes auction. This is an AFA 85 standard Hong Kong. So I've got the standard Hong Kong, and it got an 85 with AFA. I got a really good deal on this one at Hakes, even after the buyer's premium and shipping. I think it was about 185 bucks. So I'll take that all day long. And then I've got the no COO there. So 2 nice figures there. I did get a couple bootlegs this year. I don't get a lot of bootlegs anymore, but I did pick up 2 third generation Polish bootlegs from the mid to late 1980s. Oh, excuse me, these are the third generation from the 1990s. I always get it mixed up. Yeah, these are 1990s bootlegs from the third generation. So these are Polish bootleg Princess Leia's, and you can see a little bit of paint difference there with the face color there. And that's really about it, the only noticeable difference. I guess the gray for the shirt is a little bit lighter as well. So you got pale face with a lighter gray shirt, and then this one has kind of the peach face with the darker gray shirt. But I grabbed these kind of back-to-back just on a whim, and one of them graded 80 plus, the pale face graded 80 plus, and then the kind of peach face with the darker gray shirt graded an 85 plus. So very high grades, which is easy, you know, a little bit easier to do with the third generation figures since they came out in the 1990s, 1994-ish, somewhere in there. They're just, you know, towards the end of the Polish bootleg era. And so you tend to get, you know, better grades on those. The only other Polish bootleg that I have in hand is that I got this year is this Luke Farm Boy. And this, you know, was a fairly low grade, but anytime I can see a Farm Boy Polish bootleg unarticulated from the 1980s, I do try to grab it if the price is fair. So I grabbed this one, and it only got a 40, but it's just another color variation. I now have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I got 4 Polish bootleg Luke Farm Boys, and this is the lowest graded one, but pretty cool, you know, kind of nice one. And I do have a 4th Polish bootleg that I grabbed this year, but it's not back from grading. I do not expect it back anytime soon, just because the turnaround times for encasing these Polish bootlegs is pretty long, like 4 or 5 months. But it's the book sample first generation Zuckuss bootleg, and that's on the channel. You can go check it out, but that one should probably get about like a 75 is my guess. And I'll probably have that back in the spring of 2024. So So I did pick up 4 Polish bootlegs. 3 of them are back, but one of them is not, still at CES. So again, I don't grab many Polish bootlegs anymore, but just wanted to add a couple, as you know, if I had some spare money to spend. Some standard Kenner figures before we go to the baggies that I picked up this year. I did pick this one up. This is a Taiwan Chewbacca. A little bit tougher to find the Taiwan Chewbacca, and it was graded AFA 85. I did have a CAS 80 that I sold to help offset the cost of this, but this is another one that I probably overpaid for, but just doesn't come up that often in an 85 grade, so I thought I'd grab it while I could. And I did get 2 gifts from the great, toy community. This was a gift from Todd B. after visiting during the ICCC convention back in May. He sent me very kindly and unnecessarily an AFA 85 Last 17 Anakin Skywalker. So I don't have a lot of Last 17, and he was kind enough to send me this AFA 85. And then Chris and Charles and Matthew Neef and a few other guys all chipped in and got me this awesome CAS 85 plus grade, loose graded Han Solo in carbonite. So that was a super generous gift. It was just their way of saying thank you for buying like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This was the most expensive, Han Solo in carbonite that's ever sold, because it probably cost me $700 in food for those guys. But they very kindly sent this as a gift to say thanks for hosting several parties. And I say that in jest because it was worth every penny. I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to throw a couple of parties, and they really tore into the food, which I was happy that they did. So we're going to finish this video off now with the 2 recent CAS graded baggies that I picked up, along with all of the other baggies. I think I picked up a total of 9 baggies this year, graded by UKG and then CAS, some that I graded myself. So let's go ahead and finish off the video with those right now. So to finish up this year in review, I wanted to show you the baggies and mail-away items that I picked up this year, and it was a big year for baggies. I actually set out a goal at the beginning of the year to try and pick up 1 baggie every month. So 12 baggies overall, and I picked up 3 here and 0 there and 1 here and 0 there. So it ended up being 9 altogether. So I came close to my year-end goal for 2023 to pick up some vintage baggies. And obviously the biggest one that I picked up was this one. This one I picked up at Hakes kind of towards the beginning of the year. And this is the Japanese Poppy Death Star droid. And that auction had, I believe, every single one of the Poppies in high grade. And I originally was trying to get the R5-D4, but I ended up with the Death Star droid, and it is graded AFA 85. And since then, one got listed on Hakes maybe 3 or 4 or 6 months later that sold for $500 less than what I paid for it. So it ended up being a little high relative to where they're trading for right now. But I'm pretty happy with it. I think that overall, to have a foreign kind of Japanese item in my collection was kind of cool, and just a beautiful example of the Death Star droid. You guys know I love the Death Star droids, and I actually picked up 3 different Death Star droid baggies. This one I picked up ungraded from a seller on eBay, and I sent that one in to Collector Archive Services. They have a nice case. I still think UKG does the best job with the baggie cases, so you'll see some of those in a second. But this SWD baggie is graded 80 plus with AFA. And a shout out to John B. He had this Palatoy example for the Death Star droid, Palatoy baggie, and this is graded 85 from UKG. It's a Palatoy baggie Death Star droid. So 3 different Death Star droid baggies this year, a little bit overboard, but I feel like I got pretty good coverage there on those. Some other ones I picked up over the course of the year. This is an SWD baggie with the Made in Hong Kong and black lettering for Han Solo, and this one is graded 85% from UKG. I just really love the cases that they do for baggies, and while they are larger, which can hurt you from a display space perspective, I just think it really elevates how baggies are displayed relative to how AFA does it. CAS has got a nice case too. I mean, they kind of double encase it, and it's a pretty awesome case. And I've got 2 that just got back as of the making of this video that I'm going to show you in a second, but I think they do a good job too. AFA's cases for baggies, I feel like, are lacking. And here's I believe the only AFA graded baggie I picked up this year. I got this one courtesy of Chris W. over at Rogue 5 Toys. This is an 80 plus grade baggie. This is an ESB-C baggie for R5D4. So that's the only R5D4 baggie. In terms of next year, I would like to get the SWD baggie for R5D4. They come up occasionally. They're pretty expensive usually. Usually they're 300 or so, maybe even high as 400 ungraded. So you got to pay a lot of money for them. I did bid on an SWD baggie for R5D4 earlier this year, but just did not win it. I came in too low. But the other Palitoy baggie that I wanted to show you that I picked up from John B., he's flash and fast on eBay, is this Palitoy Bosk baggie. And I'm glad I grabbed it when I could, because Tim over at Boss Bounty, right as I paid for it, he sent me the link to it and he said, I'm thinking about buying this. And I was like, sorry, buddy. Sorry. No, Tim. No. This one is now in my collection. So this is a Palitoy-B baggie graded UKG 80%. So sorry, Tim. I ripped that one away from you, but that was a pretty awesome Boss baggie. And I think I've got 3 different Boss baggies now in the collection, and you just never see a Palitoy baggie pop up. So when they do pop up, you have to grab them when you can. So pretty awesome to get that one. Here's a big one. This is the biggest of the bunch, and this is the Admiral Ackbar mail-away that you see on the 48 back Cs for the Empire Strikes Back. So this is one that I purchased ungraded on eBay, and then I sent it in to CAS for grading. It's got the box, the baggie for Admiral Ackbar, the Revenge of the Jedi, which I thought was really cool and why I wanted it. The Revenge of the Jedi. This is before they changed the name, obviously, to Return of the Jedi. And then it's got the Star Wars catalog there. And this one was graded 80 plus. So the box got an 80, wrapper 85, figure 90 for an overall 80 plus. So very happy with that one. Those are always pretty expensive, already graded. So I bought that one ungraded and sent it in. I was very happy. And then finally, here are the last 2 that just arrived today from Collector Archive Services. And I got 2 more baggies graded by them. This one is a stunner, though. This is a Brown Snake Yoda that I picked up in the Facebook deal, or actually I picked up both of these, I believe, in the Facebook Deal or No Deal group. But this is an ESB-A baggie for Yoda with the brown snake. And this is a heat-sealed baggie that I picked up from Ron Salvador. He is a fairly well-known high-end collector from the Kenner days. He's got a pretty incredible collection that rivals anybody else out there, including Jeff Jacobs. So he's got a really nice collection, and he sold this baggie to me for what was a very fair price. There are a lot of fake baggies for Yoda, so you got to be careful with those. And so when he listed one on Deal or No Deal on Facebook, I immediately went after it, and he gave it to me for a very fair price, and it graded 85 with Collector Archive Services, ESB-A. Chris W. over at Rogue 5 Toys says, yeah, it's nice and everything, but the orange snake baggies are where it's at. Apparently the orange snake Yoda baggies are very tough to find and very expensive. So I got the brown snake, though, and this has got the gray Cater head, I believe. It looks like the gray head to me, the gray head Cater Factory Yoda, like you just saw in my recent unboxing. And then finally, here's another one I picked up in the Deal or No Deal group. This is the baggie that was included in the Hoth Rebel Command Center playset, along with General Veers, at the AT-AT Commander, in a separate heat-sealed baggie. So kind of tough to find this one. This is for Luke Hoth, and this one came back with an 80 score. So this is the ESB-D baggie, Hoth Battle Gear Luke Skywalker. So it got the 80, and the main reason it got the 80 was not because of the bag. It was because the figure has some discoloration, very slight kind of discoloration, which does happen with Luke Hoths, and why it's so hard to loose grade those. Very tough to get these in an 85 grade. So I'm okay, though. I'm happy with an 80 grade. I think I paid $150 for that baggie, and this one was a little more expensive. I think it was $275. It might have even been $300. I can't remember, but like I said, to get a Yoda baggie is very tough to do. That's legit. There's just so many fakes floating out there that I couldn't be happier with that. So, in terms of next year's goals for loose graded figures, I don't have many, but I probably would like to pick up probably some more baggies, and I'd probably like to continue picking up Spanish figures. Those just intrigue me. I've gotten most of the main variants done now for the Spanish figures, but there's a few like the Luke Hoth PBP Paleface As you guys remember, I bid on one that was AFA graded, and I almost won it, but I lost. I think I finished second on that one. So that's one I would like to pick up, either UKG graded or AFA graded, but it'll probably be a UKG graded one if one pops up that's high grade. And, just here and there, some other figures, maybe to kind of round out the collection, but nothing too crazy that I still want. But I'm more opportunistic these days. I certainly don't have a complete loose graded collection, but I do like to collect variants for certain characters. So I'm sure that some will pop up over the course of the year, either graded or ungraded, and I'll send it in myself to be graded. Anyway, I just thought you guys would like to see some of the recent loose graded and baggy pickups that I had over the course of 2023. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks as always for watching. And one final thing I needed to say, this video will probably air after Christmas, but Sam's, he sent me this wonderful card and he said, thanks for all you do for the Star Wars community. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So shout out to Sam's for the awesome foil vac metallized R2-D2 and C-3PO Christmas card. So that was very kind of you, Sam, and I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate everyone in the toy community. I hope everyone had a great Christmas, and here is to 2024 collecting. Thanks again, and I'll be back soon.